Hello, film fans. Welcome to the Film vs. Film podcast. My name is Martin Harries, your host, and I'm joined by the film encyclopedia man, Boaz Dix. We are a couple of filmmakers on occasion, but mainly can't stop yapping about movies. On this podcast, every episode we pick a topic from a film that's coming out at the cinema or on VOD. Myself and Boaz pick our favourite film from that topic, and we battle it out to decide which film will become the greatest film of all time, according to two film geeks from Wiltshire, England. If you enjoy this podcast, please leave us a review and subscribe. Hello, Podsters. It is our Loki TV special this week. As ever, I am joined by the Mr. Encyclopedia Man, that is Boaz Dix. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very low-key today.
Yes, all very low-key and chilled.
Yeah, that was horrible. Yeah, it's all very low-key and chilled. Yeah.
It was. We're going to do this special a little bit differently this week because we've actually seen the whole show. So if you've not seen all of the show at the end, we're going to talk about the whole thing and kind of do a little predictions about what the MCU might hold for the future. So if you haven't seen it, go and watch it all and then listen to this.
Yeah, and even what this show might hold, because even though we've watched this show, they say at the end there's a season 2, which was a surprise. So.
Yeah. I did not expect that at all, no.
Yeah, no, neither did I. I thought it was going to be a one-and-done thing. Yeah.
I went with, eventually, episode 1, actually, Glorious Purpose. It was kind of a difficult decision, to be honest, because I really liked a lot of them. I really liked the 4th one, where you find out the timekeepers are just androids, robots.
Yeah.
That was fun. Quite a big, eventful episode. Episode 2 was great with, the salad metaphor thing. That was hilarious. With Mobius.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, come on, that's my salad. That's not Asgard.
That's actually a really good Owen Wilson impression.
Thank you very much. Some appreciation for once.
I know, for once. I think we finally found your celebrity imitation.
Yeah.
That is spot on. I think maybe you're a variant of Owen Wilson.
And I like the 5th one as well, which is very epic and a lot of scale to that.
Yeah.
But I eventually went with the first one. A lot of great jokes in it. Yeah, and just some really interesting stuff. So what happens in episode 1? Loki escapes the Avengers only to be captured by the Time Variance Authority and put on trial for the crime of being a variant from the sacred timeline. One agent, Mobius, sees potential in Loki and forces the Asgardian to truly see himself so that he will join forces with Mobius and hunt the most dangerous version of them all, in Sylvie. Directing then for Loki... At the start, when we recap with the endgame scene where Loki teleports using the Tesseract, I think they add a close-up shot on Loki cheekily waving at Hulk because he can't take the elevator. That was quite a nice surprise. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I suspect they created that for the show, not shot from Endgame, not a shot from Endgame which they just didn't put in.
It could have been extra footage from Endgame that was...
Possibly.
Snipped off that they just put together. I don't know, really. I have to find
Maybe.
out.
And then when, Loki goes through all the different sections to sort him out for the TVA, did you notice the cat? I was just like, that's got to be a flurkin, surely.
Yeah, I think so.
Careful of that.
There's a lot of good moments. It's just the kind of insane, monotonous bureaucracy. And the lines and everything is so daft and robotic but it's just kind of it's so weird having a bureaucratic official sort of office thing deal with time and stuff and just him. Yeah, it's just so funny how they process him. I really like 2 of the bits of processing him are when they say sign this here. This is a list of everything you've ever said.
Oh yeah,
sign here, and he's like, what? It's sign this as well. This is absurd. It's sign this.
Yeah, another sheet of paper prints out. Which is a great joke. I really like that, but I kind of wanted it to carry on and go on a bit more, for a few more beats. It would be nice if like Loki just kind of like wants to piss off the guy, just to annoy him some, further, just to irritate him. That would have been great.
Standing in line and having to have a ticket. That was funny.
Oh, yeah.
The guy ahead of him. There's only two of them, and the guy ahead of him doesn't take a ticket, and he gets incinerated. But he's trying desperately to find his...
Well, because before that, he's like being really arrogant about the TVA. After he's watched the little animation sequence, he sees the the variant being pruned, and he's like, "Oh shit!" and then quickly pats down his jumpsuit. Just the way he does that is just hilarious. I love the animation sequence explaining what the TVA is all about with the sacred timeline and the timeline keepers. Like all done in this like Flintstones animation style, in keeping with the like this 70s style, which I quite liked a lot. I liked how the variants are just like yellow, and maybe there's a little hint of what is to come, trying to prevent like a multiverse war, which obviously we kind of find out at the end, which it pretty much is, to be honest. Did you like the animation sequence?
Yeah, no, I love the animation sequence and Miss Minutes. I like how you kind of think she's a recording, because he's like, I don't belong here. He goes, you might be thinking to yourself, I don't belong here. Well, and then here's like an infomercial of why you're here. I thought that was really funny.
I like that bit in episode 2, actually, where he's like trying to hit her with the jet ski magazine. That was great.
Yeah.
I love the little like throwaway gag about Loki being DB Cooper, whom in real life like hijacked a plane at ransom and jumped off the plane with a parachute and was never found. I love how like Marvel mess with you like in the trailers, because you're like, oh, what's this? Because you see, the Bifrost pick up Loki, and you're like, oh, is Thor going to be in this? Are we going to see more of Asgard? Is this a more important flashback? Nope, it's just a joke. Done as a joke.
Yeah.
They love messing with
just
us.
More... Exactly. It's just fleshing out his more mischievous past. But it is kind of a throwaway thing. But it's a funny little like Easter egg.
Yeah. I think my favourite shot, though, is the shot where Hunter B-15 hits Loki at the start, and it goes into like super slow motion. At first you think it's just for dramatic effect, but it's so she can put the like time collar around his neck. It's just like really clever, and the way like Tom Hiddleston's mouth just ripples and goes on and on and on. It's just hilarious. I love that bit. Really clever.
Yeah, that was a really good set.
You got a favourite shot then, or a favourite scene?
I would say like my favourite shot / scene is mainly because I think it ended really well, where you're like, oh, I want to see more. Where just after it's like, who are we after? Loki asked Mobius. He's like, I need you to help me get another version of you. And the Time Variant Authority go to a branch timeline, and it's all dark and stuff. And it's like 1858 or something. And then there's like, she's silhouetted in the background. You don't know it's a woman yet. And sets fire to like the field, and then like starts dragging them up and stuff. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, great cinematography though, with like the bluey haze kind of thing in the silhouette. So directing score, what are you going with?
It's a nice like introduction. I'm gonna say like maybe an 8.3.
Yeah, I think it's, as you said, it's a really good introduction. To have the confidence to use like an animation sequence like that, which is very classical, in keeping with the style, this very like kind of retro period style for the TVA was really kind of nice. Like the whole production design of the TVA, I really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, especially like when he's going around the office, or even seeing, how magnificent it is beyond that. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so I'll go like just 8, I think. Screenplay then. One of my favourite bits, and I think they missed a real opportunity here. A real opportunity for me, when the TVA arrests Loki right at the start, and Hunter B-15 says, "Last chance, variant." And I was really like, I wish they said, "Last chance, fancy pants," from Django and Jane. It would have worked like really well, because like Loki is in a fancy outfit. It just would have worked so well.
Yeah, he's in the desert.
So. I just,
Yeah,
that
well done.
just came into my head straight away. I'm just like, oh, you've missed an opportunity.
If only you could turn back time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. There's kind of like a very big hand wave. It was interesting when Loki and Renslayer are talking about what the Avengers did in Endgame, and it was supposed to happen. And Renslayer says, "What they did was supposed to happen. You escaping was not." It's like the show is like, yeah, we are going to just address that briefly and move on with our story. Just forget about that for a sec, you know. What did you think about that? Does that kind of like make sense with the whole, yeah, the Avengers were supposed to do all that with going back in time and defeating Thanos? And the only reason, you know, the TVA get involved is because Loki, you know, picks up the Tesseract.
Yeah.
That was not allowed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of strange because, you know, they did mess up a lot of stuff in the timeline, and you'd think, you know, they would be arrested or whatever. But I guess maybe what they're saying is, like, even though they went back in time and stole the cube and did all that stuff, if he hadn't, like, nobody would have known. It really wouldn't have affected the end of Avengers, you know, had they nicked it and then returned it.
Yeah.
But because... like, they failed that heist and then he nicked it, he's gone, and like that really changes the rest of the films because he should go in prison, and that affects Thor the Dark World, and it affects many of the other films. If there are any inconsistencies with the Time Variant Authority and their way of doing things, and you're like, well, why weren't you in Endgame? I think the end of the show kind of makes sense of that, because it all fits into a larger plan of the person behind this. Like, he wants Loki there at that time, like he constructed all of this, so Loki would be there.
I love the scene when Loki escapes Mobius and finds the Tesseract, and then he sees that the TVA have loads of variant Infinity Stones as paperweights, and it's you know, it's a real shot to his ego, because before he's been dissing the TVA and being very defensive towards Mobius's questions, and now when he says, "Is this the greatest power in the universe?" it's the first like significant step towards Loki becoming a hero, and to do that you need to destroy his ego, you know. And when he's seeing playback of the rest of his life, then he believes his future to be real. And Hiddleston is amazing in those moments, especially when he sees himself die at the end at the hands of Thanos. So I thought that was quite a really interesting moment for the show, like right away, of like, well, if we're really going to get on board with this character, we kind of need to make him more heroic, but still keep like the Loki traits that we love. But we can't like follow the Loki that's coming from 2012, who's pretty much pure evil, really. Well, not pure, you know what I mean, like very, very dark.
Yeah, I think it is kind of a framing device to get him up to speed to our Loki, because he's really not, you know, he is a bad guy, and he hasn't had that character development, and it was, I suppose it's just a way for them to sort of, as I said, keep him up to speed and get him, you know, closer to on par with how the original Loki went to. So, you know, he has an overview of his life the next few years that we're going to change him.
And then later he becomes like completely honest about who he is to Mobius, saying like, because it's part of the illusion, it's the cruel, elaborate trick conjured by the weak. And then he kind of gestures to himself to inspire fear. You know, he's pretty broken, seeing his whole life is for nothing and the TVA is seemingly all powerful. So he has no other choice but to help the TVA find the variant of himself. And yeah, as you said, well, as we both said, it's kind of this deconstruction of Loki, so he can, you know, to basically break him down so he can help the TVA and go on this journey, this new journey, with a very different Loki that we've not really seen before, which I really liked how they did that in this, certainly in this opening episode. Again, there's a lot of great lines in this. You know, Loki at the start, he says, "It's the Tesseract, be very careful with it." It sounds dumb. I think from Reggie, one of the Office quotes.
Oh, I like where he threatens to gut him like a fish. And he's like, "What the hell's a fish?"
Yeah. Yeah, that's my favourite line. Yeah.
Like, I'll be more scared if I actually knew what you're threatening me with.
"Give me the Tesseract, or I'll gut you like a fish." What's a fish? I don't know. Just like to confirm, I do know what a fish is. I do. So, we're fine.
Yeah, they exist in this timeline.
Just a little, like, talkie from Mobius is great. Owen Wilson. There's a great exchange between Loki and Mobius where Loki's like, there's only one person you can trust. And Mobius is like, yourself? I like it. Slap it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Wow.
What does he say? He says something about Loki says, I don't want to talk or something. And he goes, well, we both know that's a lie. That's another lie. You love to talk.
Yeah.
Love
You
the
love
sound
to
of your
talk.
voice.
Have you got a favourite line then?
Actually, the robot one, I don't think that gets enough credit. That was kind of funny. That was like, please
yeah.
step inside this machine if you have a soul and stuff and are not, in fact, a soulless robot or something. And he goes, what if I am a robot? Then it will melt you from the inside.
And I didn't know it.
Well, what if I just think I'm human? How do I know? It's like, all right. Yeah, I thought that was cool. Funny. It's like he's having a little existential crisis just before he climbs in
it. So, score, what are you going with?
I thought it was fun. It's pretty quick, but it's a nice introduction. As I said, there's a lot of funny moments. I'm going to go like 8.6.
Yeah, I thought it was really great just how the script just kind of deconstructs the character so we can go on this journey with this new Loki kind of thing. And it's a very talky episode, but I didn't mind that at all. I think with the production design, there's enough visual interest there, and there's kind of a few good fights in there, like at the end, and the whole like time collar thing where Mobius can just rewind time on Loki was great idea.
I like when he does that to the woman,
Hunter B15,
after they have a fight, he puts the collar on her. Yeah, that's the one. Hunter puts the collar on her and it's just like constantly boom, 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 boom. Keeps making her go back. Sends her away.
And there's a great joke when he does it to Loki, and because obviously he's chucked the chair and he's like, yeah, sorry, the time collar can't rewind the furniture. Remember that bit?
That's funny. I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, the script is really funny as well. It's certainly one of the funnier episodes, I would say. Certainly in the beginning. So yeah, I'll go like a 9, to be honest. All right, acting then. Let's talk about Owen Wilson, because I think he does a great job, to be honest. I love doing his accent. I mean, did you like his character in this?
Oh, I like almost every character that Owen Wilson plays. I mean, he plays himself, basically. Yeah, no, I thought he was fun. I thought he was funny. And he was good as well. He's like pretty calm, pretty collected. He's got this kind of like plan that, nobody else has. And there's just also just kind of a sort of optimism about him, which I think goes well when he talks to Loki, of like they're conflicting. Loki's very pessimistic and Loki's very pessimistic and arrogant, whereas Owen Wilson plays it like very optimistic, cheerful, happy, but also very kind of like good and kind and stuff.
Yeah, their dynamic works really well together. Very watchable. I really liked Gugu Mbatha Raw, who plays Ravana Renslayer. He's kind of like the judge and the head of the head of the TVA. Really interesting character because she's obviously connected to Kang, the Conqueror. So we'll talk about later how those two might get together at the end. And certainly her journey is very interesting, of like whether you can trust this character or not, whether you believe her or not, which is interesting. And I think she does an incredible job. Yeah, I would say my favourite performance is still probably Tom Hiddleston, the way he kind of, he goes from certainly 2012 Loki of this very like, evil, arrogant Loki, just wants his throne and his glorious purpose. And slowly throughout, the episode, Mobius breaks him down with all these questions. He sees his life play out, which he doesn't believe at first, but then it's like, oh yeah, this must be real. Certainly that moment when he sees himself get killed by Thanos, Tom Hiddleston is amazing in that moment of pure shock. That I really enjoyed that from him. That was really great. I think that's certainly something that's probably quite difficult to do. Probably would have needed quite a few takes to get that right for him. Yeah, and then, he gets completely broken down, and I think he just does that really well and kind of accepts who he is. but he's a villain, you know. Is yours Tom Hiddleston as well? Favourite performance?
Yeah, I think mine would be Tom Hiddleston, with a close second being Owen Wilson.
Score for acting?
I'll give it pretty high, actually. I'll give it a 9.
I think they all do a really good job, and it's just a great starting point for this show. They all give a really intriguing performance, certainly, you know, a lot of the side characters. It's just lovely that we get to see these characters more, and it's just not Loki and Mobius. So, yeah, I really enjoyed the acting in this. Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson is great. Same, like, Owen Wilson is a close second for me, so I'll go like an 8.7, I think. Right, let's add up the scores then for Glorious Purpose, Episode 1.
Glorious Purpose.
Glorious Purpose.
Glorious Purpose.
Glorious Purpose gets 51.6. Bloody good from Loki.
I'm not sure if it's like my favourite opening episode for these Disney Plus MCU shows. It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Because obviously WandaVision was a 1950s sitcom. Purely a 50s sitcom, and there's very little...
It was purely a 50s sitcom.
Like, mystery in that. Only a few moments. No. So, I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was really good. Like, that action scene with Falcon, that was pretty incredible.
I prefer, I suppose, just the character stuff in this to the other ones, rather than the action. It's not very action heavy, but just the character building and the world building in this episode. I think it sets up quite a lot just in the first episode.
So what's your episode, Mr. Encyclopedia Man?
My episode is Journey into Mystery, episode 5.
Nice. So why did you pick this one?
I think it's mainly... There are quite a lot of revelations in this one, and it's like the culmination of a lot of the, basically the whole show up to this point. And it does seem like the most grand in scale episode. So,
yeah, definitely. Even compared to the last one as well.
Yeah, like this is really where you say, like the big one.
And it has Richard E. Grant in it, so...
And it's got the Richard E. Grant in it, who is amazing. As a classic, you also get like a ton of Loki. So, like, throughout this show, you've had 2 Lokis, and they talk about, going back in time, so you think you're going to see loads and loads of Lokis. In this episode, you see loads of Lokis. So that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Including a crocodile Loki, which makes no goddamn sense.
Alligator Loki, get it right. Come on.
Alligator Loki.
Different animal, man.
Maybe there's a crocodile one somewhere. His cousin, maybe.
Yeah. So what happens in this episode?
So this one is coming off the back of him and Sylvie, which is the female version of himself. They take out the timekeepers, who turn out to be androids, and they're controlled by somebody else. And during the fight, Loki gets pruned, which up to this point, you're under the assumption that means death. They're dead. But in this episode, actually, no, he's like transported to the end of time.
Well, when Loki gets pruned, Mobius gets pruned before, and as soon as Loki was pruned, I'm like, oh yeah, Mobius is alive, because they're not going to kill him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So in this place that they are at the end of time, that's where not only pruned people go, but even pruned timelines. Where they put those charges and annihilate a timeline. Actually, everybody from that timeline goes there. Just everything goes here at the end of time. There's this giant monster called Goliath that just basically roams around and eats anything. It's like this giant cloud monster or something. And so basically Loki is found by a bunch of other Lokis, including an old Loki, played by Richard E. Grant, a young Loki, like a boastful Loki, who says like he's done all these amazing things, which everybody thinks he's just talking out of his ass, and an alligator Loki. Shut up, I was going to say crocodile, but whatever.
Yes.
An alligator Loki. So that's the main team of Lokis. So they just want to survive, but he wants to, somehow beat Goliath and break out of this and go back and save Sylvie. Sylvie also has her thing going on where she thinks she convinces Ravonna to team up with her and figure out what's going on till she's betrayed. And then she sends herself back. She prunes herself to send herself to the void. And so basically her, Mobius, and the other Lokis defeat Goliath she manages to control its mind.
Charmed
yeah,
it,
and then enchant it. Yeah, and then they go to the world beyond it. Which the real bad guy is situated. So that's essentially the plot of it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. As you said, it's certainly the epic episode and the one with a lot of scale to it. All the big visual effects come into this one.
Yeah, definitely. I love how they basically just start it up with the big threat and the visual effects just right out of the gate of like Loki waking up, and he's still just like, what the hell's going on? And it's like, well, like that's Goliath. We need to get the hell out of here. And this giant roaring monster in the clouds. It's pretty cool.
Directing then, there's a wide shot as the Lokis are traveling across the void, and we see a vehicle that could have made Endgame and Infinity War even better. That's right. Thanos' helicopter we see with his own name on it on the side. They could have put that in those films and it would have been amazing.
Yeah, surely from the best of all timelines. Yeah, I think
that's just so funny. Apparently that helicopter was in an Avengers comic where...
It was in a Spider-Man comic.
Was it a Spider-Man comic
it was a
where
Spider-Man comic,
he does a heist to get one of the Infinity Stones or something, and he escapes with the helicopter with his name on.
Yeah, no, it's a really amusing comic. I saw... I'll send you a breakdown of it. It's absolutely hilarious. It's like he wants to steal... what do they call it? Cosmic Cube. Spider-Man and some other cat-themed superhero try to stop him. But it's stuff like he has a helicopter with his name on it. And when he gets the cube, he trips, and that's how it kind of leaves his hand, and then Spider-Man's able to beat him.
He trips up.
Yeah, he trips, yeah. He, creates an earthquake to, beat Spider-Man, but it trips him, and then he drops the cube. It's such a stupid story.
Oh, right.
And then he gets apprehended by the authorities at the end. Like the cops put him in a police car. It's absolutely hilarious.
I mean, that's surely how he got his blade from Endgame, from his helicopter, surely.
Yeah, yeah. I think the rest of the helicopter, the TVA had confiscated, and he's like, can I at least have the blades? Yeah, right.
They were like, Thanos, this is just stupid, man. We got to take this away.
Yeah, this shouldn't exist.
I mean, the green, purple, headless chickens, I mean, that was very odd. I don't understand what was going on there. It was like the animators couldn't be asked to finish off the design. And it's like, just put a bobbling ball on top of them. That'll do. We're pushed for time.
That was crazy.
And just make it go up and down. That'll do. That's fine. Just make it look like it's an anomaly of the void or something. I don't know.
Yeah. There's also, what was it? Yeah, that was so strange, yeah. I don't know if they're from a timeline where somebody screwed around with chickens, that they were all purple and headless or something. It's, I don't know, KFC experiment gone terribly, terribly wrong.
Oh dear.
Added the wrong herbs.
Too many chicken balls.
Yeah.
The moment at the end when Richard E. Grant as classic Loki recreates Asgard is such an epic moment. And the whole scene kind of works so well because of the music. The music really drives that end scene where, Loki and Sylvie are trying to enchant the Goliath. Because, all the characters are very static and there's a lot of CG, a lot of, purple smoke and Asgard being recreated. So there's not a lot of the actors doing a lot. It's a lot of hand gesturing from them, so you have to have something to combine all this scene together, and the music does that job incredibly well. The composer is Natalie Holt, does a great job, really. But I was pretty gutted when Richard E. Grant's Loki dies at the end, though. I was like, that's gutting. I would love to have seen
that kind
more
of does suck. Yeah, I think you could do a film with him or a series with him. He was pretty cool. I mean, they just dress him up in the daft comic accurate costume, which is out the hell with it. And but also he just looks cool as a Loki.
Initially, I was just like, that looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw, at the end of the fourth episode, when you get the sting at the end and you see the four Lokis, like his costume, I was like, oh god, that looks bad. It does feel like there's way too much yellow, and the horns sticking out looks a bit ridiculous. But I think the more I was watching the episode, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the costume more. I liked it a bit more. So
it grows on you. It grows on you, definitely.
Yeah.
You're like, it's not too bad. Also, what was it? There was a bar brawl between Loki and a bunch of other Lokis where they all betray each other, which is fucking hilarious because it's so Loki. Boastful Loki betrays them to President Loki. President Loki betrays Boastful Loki. All the other Lokis betray President Loki. Then they all just kick the shit out of each other. I thought that was quite funny. Well, he gets his hand bitten off by the alligator Loki.
That was hilarious.
That was really funny.
But I love how our Loki is just trying to dodge everyone and trying to stay out of the way, which is quite funny. But again, I love Richard E. Grant in that, just loving life, and is just really going for it with casting the projections with all the hand gestures. It's brilliant. But I was left a little bit disappointed that the President Loki wasn't more important to the story, and it was just again, a throwaway joke. It was a good joke. I enjoyed it. It was funny, but I kind of would have loved it if maybe he was involved a bit more. I don't know. I
think if they had all teamed up, if he had convinced them all to team up and every one of them was there for the final battle, I think that would have been a more icing on the cake rather than literally,
maybe,
you get all of these extra ones come up and then just they fight each other and then they just leave. They leave out the back door. It's like, screw those guys. Just kind of seems like a wasted scene. It's like, what was the point of that?
Again, I think it's just a classic case of Marvel just messing with the audience in the trailers. You have this President Loki or Vote Loki badge. He looks really cool. And it's just a joke in the end. It's just like, damn you, Marvel. It's basically just don't watch the trailers. Just you don't need to.
Don't watch the trailers.
I can't help it. It's so good.
Yeah.
Have you got a favorite shot then?
Yeah, I think Richard E. Grant, summoning Asgard, that was a pretty damn badass shot. And even actually his death of just glorious purpose and then in immediate death.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was a really good shot. And very sad, yeah.
Mine is right at the beginning, actually. There's a great undertilt and roll around with the camera to give you a nice quick recap of the severed head of the robot timekeeper. Then a nice big shot of the Alioth with all the Lokis looking really small, right at the beginning. Just give you this sense of this episode is going to be the big epic one. Yeah, I really like that shot. So directing score for me, I think it's really good, to be honest.
Oh, well, I was going to say I missed out one bit in the plot that was quite epic, although I wish it was longer and sort of meant a little more, where they're trying to probe how to defeat Alioth, and there's a ship that lands there and starts firing at Alioth, and it just destroys it, it was kind of cool, but it's so brief and inconsequential. But it was just them going okay, how can we beat it? Maybe a ship. It's no, okay, how the fuck are we going to defeat this thing? This is impossible. Before Sylvie comes in.
Apparently, that's the same ship. I can't remember what it was called, but that was involved in the Manhattan Project thing, where they tried to make it invisible or something.
Yeah, so it's not the Manhattan Project. It's this internet myth that came around that this particular ship that had a number designation. It was going everywhere in creepypastas and Facebook and many other things. But it's kind of a myth. But it was the US. I can't remember in the 60s or 70s tried to open a portal. And they had a ship, and they wanted to make it invisible, but the ship just disappeared, but not invisible, it went through a portal or something. And but it's one of those internet myths. But they just picked up on that, and they've put that exact ship with the same designation. I like how they're doing that sort of stuff with the series. You have DB Cooper explaining that weird phenomenon, and then this weird ship. And also, I saw somebody point out in one of the videos. Of this episode, a review of this episode, that they're playing a video game at the Loki's hideout, younger Loki's hideout. And that video game is one of these internet myths that everybody believes existed, but there's no proof of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool that, a lot of these things go into like the void, where the end of time or whatever, all these forgotten things.
Yeah.
So directing, I'll probably go like 8.5, I think. How about you, sir?
I think I'll go a little higher just because of the scope of it. Actually, I'll go a 9.
All right, screenplay then. Yeah, as I said in the previous episode when we were talking about it, Gugu Mbatha Raw, who plays Renslayer, is talking to Sylvie and explains to her about when variants are pruned, they go to a void at the end of time where they can't escape. But a bit before that, she says, I want to know who's at the top of this. I want to know who lied to me. And I'm not sure I believe her. And obviously, in the last episode, we don't really get many answers to that. And obviously, in the comics, Renslayer is connected to Kang in some way, because obviously in the last episode she uses her time pad and leaves to go somewhere. I suspect we definitely will see her again, for sure. What do you think about Renslayer as a character in this show?
She's okay. I never really thought that much of her.
Not a fan then?
I'm not really a huge fan. I mean,
Okay.
It's like, I suppose they do try to make some sort of, maybe she'll feel betrayed. Because, I don't know, she just seems like one of these characters. I think she's the epitome of the bureaucracy of the TVA, that she'll listen to all the propaganda. She's a true believer. Even when everything's found out to be bullshit, she still believes. It's like complete delusional belief. I don't, she can't really, like all the other, unlike Mobius and everybody else who've dedicated their lives to it, when they find out it's bullshit, they're like, oh man, this is wrong. But she's like, no, this is somehow still true, even, despite the overwhelming evidence. So she's kind of infuriating.
It feels like she wants to find out the truth for herself and like take over the TVA for herself kind of thing. I don't really trust anything she says in this show.
I don't think she's going to do it for herself. I think she's still like a diehard believer, and I think if she found out that it's a Kang or whatever, then she'll pledge her complete loyalty to him. I think if she found out it was the devil that run the TVA, she'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I think it's still her, thing. I would trust what she says, like to Owen Wilson in the last episode, where she's like, it kind of doesn't matter, The person that made the TVA made it for a reason. I think she says something like that. So it's like, I think she's going she's going off to find Kang, but spoilers for the end of the show. Sylvie kills that Kang, the Kang that made the TVA. So any other Kang is just like, a different universe's Kang or whatever. So she might run into one of the ones that want to conquer everything. Yeah,
and following on from that, of our opinion of Renslayer, there's a great moment when Sylvie self-prunes and one of the Minutemen says she self-pruned, and Renslayer saying oh, good, she's dead too. And it's like another sign that the TVA is slowly falling apart. And for me, I don't trust anything Renslayer says. It's just, again, it's one of these moments in the show where the TVA is starting to unravel. The truth is kind of coming out. And there's a great moment from Tom Hiddleston when he's having a heart-to-heart with Sylvie and says, I betrayed my father, my brother, my home, and I know what I did, and I know why I did it, and that's not who I am anymore. And it's like Loki has become a fully fledged hero now, and it definitely feels earned in this show, because he has someone he truly loves now in Sylvie, even though it's a variant of himself, so it's a bit weird. But it's believable, though.
It is a bit weird. How do you feel about with his relationship with Sylvie? Because it is kind of strange, because everybody was like, oh, the most kind of weird relationship in fiction or in TV shows was like Game of Thrones, Jaime Lannister and Cersei Lannister, because they're twins, brothers and sisters. This is weirder than that, because it's the same person. That's just that's a bit strange.
A variant female of himself.
Yes. So it's basically masturbation then.
But she does feel like a very different character, though. She's very, I mean, she's in a lot of pain, she hasn't had the opportunity that this Loki has had of like trying to conquer worlds and things like our Tom Hiddleston's Loki has. Her life has been taken away from her from the word go, pretty much. So, you know, she's basically been fighting back against the TVA since she was a child. So she's definitely feels like a very different character. There's some great funny lines in this from Richard E. Grant where he says, "We're in a shark tank. Goliath is the shark." The alligator Loki growls, "Oh, there's no such thing as an alligator tank. Besides, it's a better metaphor. He's overly sensitive like the rest of us." It's a great little bit.
Yeah, that was funny.
From President Loki, "Why, you beef-witted half-face scrubs? We had a deal." There's a great one from Mobius when he arrives in the Void and meets the other Lokis, and he's like, "You throw a rock out here, you hit a Loki."
Yeah, that was
That's
funny.
great.
I think, what was it? He said something, he did mention the alligator Loki, Mobius did, Owen Wilson, where he's like, I don't remember hearing about an alligator Loki. So, it's like, are you saying he's lying? Well, he could be, which would ironically make him quite like a Loki, you know? It's like, maybe it's just an alligator, that's pretending to be like...
My favourite line, though, is probably... There's a great line where Loki is ranting at the variants, and he says, "All I know is I got pruned, and I woke up here, and now I'm surrounded by variants of myself, plus an alligator, which I'm heartbroken to report I don't find all that strange." Oh, it's brilliant,
Yeah,
that.
that was good.
You got a favourite line?
Even though it's kind of like, like cliche, where all the Lokis are like, they have a chance to escape with Mobius, but they're like, "No, I'm staying. I like that. It's a very Spartacus moment. It's just like, yeah, I'm going to die here, but I'm going to help fight. It's like they all become like heroes, they have a chance to just get the fuck out of here, but they're all going to stay.
Score for me... I liked like the Renslayer and Sylvie stuff near the beginning of the episode. I liked that. Again, this episode is very funny. There's probably better lines in this one. Again, you kind of come pretty much full circle, well, to the end of Loki's arc, nearly in this one, where he becomes a fully fledged hero, pretty much. So I kind of like that. But yeah, it is kind of more of a character episode, a little bit. Certainly, there's a lot of great stuff with Sylvie. Kind of wanted maybe more of Mobius, because he's such a great character. So I'll go like 8.2, I think. How about you, sir?
Yeah, I'll go 8.3.
Right, acting then. I love the moment where Loki is like, "I'm gonna kill Goliath, and I could use all the help I can get." And then all the variant Lokis just burst out laughing. And again, like, Richard E. Grant is amazing, where he's just like, "Yeah, baby." It's brilliant. One of my favourite moments, though, is when Renslayer is talking to B-15 and then asks for all the files on the creation of the TVA from Miss Minutes and says, "Whoever created this place is in danger." And then when she walks away, she does this little smirk, and it's like she just wants to run the TVA for herself, maybe. I don't know. It's
no, that could be.
So many unanswered questions with this character.
That's true.
Very sneaky.
Yeah, she could be trying to overtake the whole damn thing. So any other bits? I like Richard E. Grant when he was talking about what he did after Endgame, like his Loki.
Oh, right, yeah.
I just kind of like that monologue and just how it was done. Where it's basically just it just sounds like a lot of regret and sort of sadness behind, Yeah, it's just like, I escaped, I was fine, but then, I was on my own, and I just kind of like that, and it's like, yeah, and, I missed my brother and everything, and, where he's just like, well, that's just what Lokis do, kind of just end up alone.
Apart from Kid Loki, who killed Thor.
Although he killed a kid Thor, so that must be a lot easier.
Yeah, different, I guess. Probably just killed him in his sleep or something.
Yeah, exactly. Bastard. And this is, before Mjolnir or whatever. He just put a pillow over his face or whatever.
We haven't talked about Sophia Di Martino much as Sylvie. As I said, she's certainly very much a different character, a character that suffered a lot of pain in her life. At times, I got to be honest, I did find her a little annoying sometimes, but she does have some great moments of sincerity when she's talking to Loki, you know, when they're both like enchanting the Goliath, and the moments leading up to that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And certainly their conversation.
I like the moment with the conversation that they were having, and Loki, you know, makes a blanket for himself and then later for both of them. Yeah. And I like, they're both basically trying to say that they love one another.
Yeah.
I quite like that, but they're too vulnerable to even mention such a thing. So they're dancing around it. But yeah, I do like that.
So my favourite performance is Richard E. Grant, to be honest. I think if you're going to have him, I'm always going to pick him in an episode like this. So
yeah,
even though the costume, I certainly needed some time to warm to, but he does an amazing job. So score, I'm going to go 8.5. Everyone's really good. I kind of wanted more Mobius, though. How about you? What's your favourite performance?
Yeah, Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
You know, it's just amazing. You know, it's a great choice for an older Loki. And I mean, he's just amazing in everything. There's just like such sincerity behind everything he says, and he's just fun to see act. But everybody else was pretty good as well. You know, Sylvie, Owen Wilson. I wish more Owen Wilson was in this. You know, I agree with you. And like everybody was pretty good. But yeah, I would say Richard E. Grant was my favourite. And it was such a shame that he died. It seemed premature. Yeah. It's like, for the love of God, I only got one episode.
I was very much like, no!
Yeah, but you only get one episode to hang with him. It was like, it just felt way too premature. Like, it's both a good moment, but a terrible moment in the series where you're like, man, what a waste. Just keep him going. Maybe let him die in the second season somewhere, you know, where I can get my full of him. Hopefully he reprises his role, like, you know, there's another Loki, another old Loki, and just, you know, get Richard E. Grant to play him again. Did you hear Richard E. Grant made a suggestion that they should do a series of him and crocodile alligator Loki? I think that would be great.
Yeah, I would love to see that. Maybe tweak the costume slightly, I don't know.
Yeah, but somebody was saying they should team up with Rocket and Groot. That'd be kind of interesting.
Really?
Each of them has a partner that doesn't really talk.
So, score for acting?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. 8.5 sounds about right.
Nice. Right, let's add up the scores then for The Mysterious Journey.
Journey into Mystery. Get it right. Journey into Mystery.
That's the one. Is it? Oh yeah, Journey into Mystery. Mysterious Journey. Potato.
Do you know what the reference is to Journey into Mystery?
No. Explain.
Journey into Mystery is in fact the actual comic that Thor debuted in.
Oh right.
That was the name of was the name of the comic series that Thor debuted in. It wasn't Thor 1, it was Journey into Mystery.
See, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I bring on the comic book encyclopedia man for you. Journey into Mystery gets 51 points. So Glorious Purpose wins by, again, 0.6 points with 51.6. So episode 1 wins. Only just by like 0.6.
Cheater.
How did I cheat?
I don't know. You somehow cheated.
So what did you think about Loki as a whole then, compared to like WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Where does this rank on the Marvel Disney Plus shows for you?
I think I liked it more than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
A lot more than that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think Winter Soldier, Falcon and Winter Soldier was like, it was all right. I think we said this before, it could have just been a very long movie rather than a series. Don't think there was really enough material there.
Yeah.
Whereas this, I kind of feel it feels too short. Is my thing with this. Like, I liked it, but I felt like it could have been could have been much longer. Yeah, I think 6 episodes is like not nearly enough, but it did feel like a nice taste of a series, you know. And I'm glad they've got a season 2 because I didn't feel quite full enough from this.
Yeah, I was really surprised like that.
Yeah, no, I am surprised because I think this is the first one they've just said, you know, oh yeah, there's a second season. I'm like, oh, awesome. So I did like it. I just wish it was like longer.
What, is it too talky for you for this show?
No, I don't mind the talky nature of it. I just kind of want, you know, I just wanted more of it, you know.
Because there's so many great characters in this, you kind of want more of them.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for me, I probably prefer WandaVision. Not by much. Yeah. Yes, there are more episodes, but certainly the first 2 they released at the same time and they're very short. I think with WandaVision did so well for me was the fact that it brought the emotion. It was quite emotional at the end with these characters, and it really worked. Like, the acting in that was just extraordinary at times.
I think I agree with you there.
And Catherine Hahn in that show was amazing, whereas Sophia Di Martino was great, but not on any level to Catherine Hahn. I think, yes, very different characters. Her character worked really well for this show. Yeah, but it's not a huge margin, though. I liked all three of these shows, but I think WandaVision, for me, just tips it because I do love, like, the whole mystery box style of storytelling.
I think I agree with you as well. I think I prefer WandaVision, but I still do quite like this.
So where do you think the future holds for Marvel Phase 4 then? Certainly with the characters, like Kang, where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah, so, I'm quite interested at the end of this because there were loads of theories that it was going to be Kang the Conqueror. And, he was he's said to be the villain in Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp 3.
Quantum Mania, yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. I think it's interesting that they introduce him in a show before the film. Because in everything else, like, for the Netflix shows or the ones attached to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was never that way. It was always feeding from the movies to the shows, but never from the shows to the movies. Like, they tried to keep that shit separate.
Yeah.
And I like how they're letting it bleed in both directions. Like, whatever, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to introduce such a important villain very early on in a show.
It certainly does feel like we're in the multiverse now with what the actions of what Sylvie did.
Yeah.
The fact that she kills Kang in this universe and just creates all these branches to
creates the multiverse.
Yeah. So you've got all these different variations on Kang, all the evil ones, and it seems like Loki has gone into an evil one of Kang.
Yeah. I
love that moment at the end where he seemingly comes back to the TVA and Mobius and Hunter B-15 don't know who he is. It's just like, oh shit. He's in a different universe.
Yeah, and there's a statue of Kang and stuff. Yeah, that was great. I reckon this is going to feed into, because they were talking about there was a connection between WandaVision and in the Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange one. This seems like it has a heavy connection there because, you're talking about a multiverse. It's like, at the end, it's like, he basically states, through all the pruning and what have you and weeding of the timeline, there is only one universe here. But if you kill me, it's going to split and there's going to be a multiverse and it's going to be terrible. And, she kills him. So I think this is going to feed into that, I don't think it's kind of a coincidence. There's a multiverse at the end of this, and the next film has something to do with a multiverse. Or next year's one.
It certainly puts into question now, like, everything coming up. It's just like, the question will just be like, well, which universe is this show going to be in? Which universe is this film going to be in? Or is all these universes going to collide? Certainly with Doctor Strange 2 and maybe Spider-Man. Well, it's heavily rumored with the Spider-Man film that we're going to get lots of Spider-Man and different villains from different films. So how is that going to work in relation?
It makes you think because, could this film, like, retroactively make every previous Marvel film, even not done by the MCU, make it canon? Do you know what I mean? And part of the MCU.
Yeah.
Would the X-Men films have happened in a different timeline that now exists now? Or, and literally all of those are actually canon, and then the Fox Fantastic Four ones, or, Universal's time with the Hulk, or literally any of these studios, Could it make all that stuff canon?
It's interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
Because obviously recently, I don't know if you heard about this, Hugh Jackman posted on Instagram or something a pair of Wolverine claws and a photo of him and Kevin Feige. An old photo, I must add, but that's really interesting as well. Whether we might see him again, I can't see that personally, but I think he's just messing with fans.
Yeah.
But
I think maybe like a cheeky cameo would be nice.
Of a way of like reintroducing the X-Men, maybe.
Yeah, it's one of the things, like, Hugh Jackman, he still looks fantastic for his age, and he played Wolverine for a lot. But it's one of those things of, like, I kind of don't want to see him play Wolverine again, or that version of Wolverine. And I don't really want to see, like, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, just mainly because it kind of cheapens the end. It cheapens their end. They died in really cool ways. Just leave them be.
I think just the end of this show just makes me really excited for the rest of the MCU, and I did not expect Kang to show up in this show. I really didn't. I thought we would get it in like a post-credit scene or something.
Yeah, but for him to directly be there, he is actually the villain. He actually has a lot of screen time, and he is the antagonist of the last episode. I think that's pretty crazy. And that he sets up this huge event that happens right at the end. I mean, that's nuts.
And Jonathan Majors, who plays him, was just such a great performance in that episode. I really enjoyed his performance. I have a feeling we might not see the helmet, the classic Kang helmet. I don't know. He kind of has like the purple costume, which I quite enjoyed. That was quite cool.
Well, you do see him with the helmet when he's showing the flashback of like explaining how how he became in charge of the timeline. And he says, he met other Kangs and they took over their timelines, and then there was a timeline war between him and other Kang. When he's talking about the other Kangs, they do have helmets on. So if he's like, that's what I used to wear when I was going to war in the multiverse war.
Yeah.
But it's definitely there. He definitely has the classic look in these little, those metallic holograms, very Man of Steel-like. Yeah, they definitely do have helmets. So that might be just the only nod they have to that. Like, he used to wear a helmet at some point and just never bring it up again.
It'll be interesting whether we see Kang again before Ant-Man 3, because he is confirmed for that. Whether we see him in maybe Doctor Strange or something like that.
I think it would be interesting if, because this show could do it.
Obviously a very small role, I suppose.
Yeah, but how they even show him off at the last episode of the show, that he is a power to be reckoned with. Like, absolutely. I think it's amazing that they just show that. Yeah, he is a power to be reckoned with. And at the end, he sets up this huge catastrophe, and I like that as leaving it off of it. But it's like, conceivably, even though it's introduced in a show, which is fine, it seems like the MCU's evolved since just the movies only thing. But it would be interesting to be introduced in a show, the next big bad of like a saga. I think that would be cool if you just have like so I'm saying that's what I would kind of do. Have a Kang the Conqueror saga. I mean, that would be cool. Even the whole multiverse war thing they're talking about sounds like a really big deal. I'm not sure if that's just going to be confined to the second season and he's going to be like, just an antagonist.
That's the other thing.
Ant-Man 3, and then that's just going to be it for him, or if it's going to be like a long-running thing.
It's interesting, obviously, with the sting at the end of this show confirming there will be a season 2, because there's definitely not going to be a season 2 of Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. That's a one and done thing for those shows, and we're going to get a Captain America film with Sam Wilson. That's been confirmed. But obviously with Loki season 2, with this storyline, it's just like, I don't see us getting Loki season 2 for a long time. With all the other shows that they've got, I think it will be a while. I think possibly they'll be done with the Kang storyline stuff before we even get to a season 2 of Loki.
Oh, okay.
And that it'll be something completely different, because there's so much on their slate already. So I don't know.
I'm just saying, like, with the end of the show, they set up like there's going to be a multiversal war, like he said before, of maybe millions or infinite amounts of Kangs trying to conquer the multiverse. I mean, that sounds like a huge deal to just end the show on. And so either you pick up the show as soon as possible and end that thread, or you continue that thread somehow through the movies. I think to leave the show off on
it'll
something
be through the movies
as gigantic as that, and to not finish it off just sounds to me like insanity. To just I think if they do that, they just shelve off this giant revelation as, oh, he's just a villain of the week thing, and this gets sorted behind the scenes, or it gets sorted by Ant-Man. I think that would just be like a real, like, what the hell?
No, it would definitely be Avengers thing. Definitely.
Yeah, I hope so. I think this show, if it hasn't, then it I think it probably is. It's setting it up for a giant event.
Oh yeah, definitely. It all depends on when we get Loki season 2. I don't think we're going to get it for a while, at least like 5 years maybe or something, with all the other shows that are coming. So it'll be really interesting. Right, I think we'll wrap it up now. Loki, brilliant show, really enjoyed it. Thanks, Boaz, again for joining me on this special, and we'll see you next time for this Saturday for our rated action films. Right, Thanks, Boaz. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
That's it for this week's pod. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to find out more about the podcast or suggest future topics for us to discuss related to upcoming releases, let us know on Instagram at Film vs. Film Podcast and on Twitter at FVF_podcast. Remember, please subscribe. Pod signing off.